Welcome to Families of Victory broadcast. I am your host, Minister Shannon. Thank you so much for tuning in and allowing us to come into your homes. A lot of you may know or you may not know, we have come out of the classrooms and decided to go to the airways so that we can minister and reach other people, the magnitude of people that we desire. And on today's show, we're going to talk about Operation Stop the Violence. In Families of Victory, we have what's called grief counseling sessions that we do and we host and we facilitate. So many people are losing their lives. They're losing children by the masses. And so we have to be ready to accommodate those people in our communities and assist them. And that's what we are here to do. And that's our goal at Families of Victory, is to minister to the needs and educate our community, whether it's on violence or, domestic violence, whatever it is according to violence, and to be there and support them. So today on our show, we have two beautiful young ladies, and I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. And to my left here, we'll just let Miss Faye start. How about that? Welcome to the show, Miss Faye.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me. My name is Faye Alexander. I'm the National Director of Healing of Affliction with the Peacekeepers.
Amen. And then we have Miss Sylvia. Sylvia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Sylvia Smith. I am coming from Charlotte, North Carolina. Happy to be here, and thank you so much, Minister Shannon and Families of Victory, for inviting me to be a part of your broadcast. I am Executive Director for the Samuel Harrison Stitt Foundation, representative of my son, our youngest son, Sam Stitt, who was a victim of gun violence.
Right. And that's one of the things that we just must address. I know that I've done a lot of work with Miss Faye Walker Alexander here in the Middle Georgia area, and I did have an opportunity to facilitate and to be with you and to talk to you and, really fellowship with you. And I really desire, and I believe God is just so awesome. He's just an awesome God. So I desire for you guys to share your story about what the Lord has done for you, even in the midst of tragedy, because tsunami will hit our families, and it will either tear us apart or it'll bring us together. So let's talk a little bit about Miss Faye, and tell me a little bit about what you know for a fact about violence.
I'm the mother of three, and all three of those kids that God blessed me with are deceased. One was due to gun violence. One was giving birth to her baby. And my youngest son, heart wasn't strong enough to survive. Living that is hurtful when it comes to Mother's Day, Christmas. Those are lonely days. But I decided to allow God to use me because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I needed to do. And he allowed me to come back to Macon, Georgia, and just be that backbone for the mothers and fathers or any family member that have lost their child to gun violence. He allowed me to as well deal with parents of gun violence, and we all know that that's not an easy situation to deal with. And just here Thursday, it was hard for me,
right?
As much as I do, but it was still hard for me because I'm human,
right?
Because it marked 14 years that my daughter died,
right?
But that was a hard day for me, and I know that these days are not easy,
right.
And losing a child is not easy,
right?
So I just thank God for putting me in the midst of doing what I do. Being a member of the Peacekeepers and stopping the violence is a unique thing for me. And you might not touch everybody, but if you touch one or two people, you done your job.
That's right. And that reminds me of a song they used to sing, if I could just touch one somebody, then my living is not in vain.
Exactly.
when I talked to you, and actually when I talked to Sylvia, I thought about you, and it was just like they need to meet. Oh my God, they really need to meet, because I saw Sylvia struggling to get past some things, and that you had already encountered. And I really believe that in Families of Victory, as the director, we need mentorship. We need somebody on the other side of that phone that when we break down, or when, we're out there mentoring to everybody else, they see us as being strong, but what about the strong ones that need somebody that's even stronger?
Well, that's weird that you even say that, because Sylvia and I talked in the back, and we discussed some things about losing our children. And Sylvia was saying to me that one thing that have not come across her yet is the angry part. And I told her she would get there. But not knowing, with even speaking with Sylvia, she have already gotten there.
Right.
And she don't even realize that she had gotten there.
Right.
But I'm going to let Sylvia tell you her story. I'm not going to do that one.
Right. Sylvia, come on and join the conversation. Talk to me about your handsome son and the stuff that you were talking about. I know what you talked to me about, and it was I was like, oh yeah, she's been angry. So
yeah. Our son Sam was 23. Sam had his son Noah, who at the time of Sam's murder, which even to this day is still a hard thing to say. It's hard to put that label on what happened to my child, that he was murdered, or that he was killed. But that's the reality of our situation. And so Noah, it was 17 months when Sam was taken from us. Sam's sister took the call. So just imagining the heartbreak, that she had to endure, and then relate to, mom and dad about what had happened to her brother. So the family was devastated. Sam was the youngest of four, Kofi being the only daughter, his brothers, Corey and Mason. So, it's been a struggle. It has been. And this was August of 2019. So it is still fresh. And I guess for me, in talking to, Faye in the back and saying, well, I'm just waiting on the anger to come. When am I going to get angry? Because I feel like my anger would be an explosion of some kind, and I haven't had that. But she's assured me, and we'll talk more about this, that I am angry, and I have already expressed some of that. So it has been a struggle, not just for me and for Sam's dad, Michael, but certainly for his siblings and the rest of the family. Sam had a lot of really good close friends, and so, there's a void there on a lot of levels, void on a lot of levels, extended family and all. But what we've endeavored to do, because Sam was a young father, and Sam was a good kid, everybody wants to say, when these things happen, my child was a good child. They didn't bother anybody, but that would be the truth of the matter when speaking about Sam Stitt. So one of the things that we've endeavored to do in December of 2019, we were given the vision to birth the Samuel Harrison Stitt Foundation. Because one of the things that we have endeavored to think about are other young fathers.
That's right.
He was a good dad. He doted on Noah. And was doing all the things necessary to provide for himself and for Noah and to build that good life when he was taken. So one of the emphasis of the foundation would be to look at the needs of young fathers, young mothers. We have everything for young ladies, but there's not a lot of attention, as I understand it, that goes to the dads. So we've been in touch with contacts that we know to be able to identify who that audience or that participant might be that we would have the opportunity to bless. And so that's one of the endeavors that we've been able to take some of the energy and put into in addition to grieving and mourning and trying to just get past or get through.
I like what you just said, though. You were saying it's almost like you're diverting that energy from being angry to actually reaching back out to, see what you can do, not necessarily to find out or talk about who did this, but to help stop the violence. Let's talk about that a little bit, because like I said, with Faye here in the Middle Georgia area, there are so many different programs. Matter of fact, our sheriff here is just one awesome, and I don't say this just to be saying it, he is an awesome sheriff. He is the people's sheriff. And I tell you, when we come back from the break, I would like to talk about that. What are we doing to help stop the violence? Let's talk about, when we come back from the break, the foundation and how people that are watching might be able to get in contact with you, and the upcoming things that's going on with the peacekeepers and healing of affliction. So we'll be right back. Don't you move. We're about to take a break, and we really appreciate you watching the broadcast today. Families of Victory, this segment is Stop the Violence. We really appreciate you. Thank you, ladies. So when we come back, we're going to hear a little bit more about healing of affliction and what Miss Sylvia is doing to help stop the violence. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for a way to expand your ministry's reach and draw new members to your congregation? Queen Esther Mega Networks is your partner for Christian media outreach. Contact Dr. Janet Hogan Lamar today to learn how you can become a guest on one of our current programs or start your own worship and ministry series through Queen Esther Mega Networks.
Welcome back to the broadcast. We're here today again. You guys are tuned in. We appreciate you tuning in to listen to this segment of Families of Victory. We're talking about stopping the violence. And before the break, we were about to talk about this new program that our sheriff in Middle Georgia has implemented that allow the churches to get involved and the pastors to get involved with, I thought it was so cool what he said, and I'm going to read exactly what he said. The initiative aims to stop the violence before it starts and help give people mentors. Davis says members of the clergy will have an opportunity to ride along with the deputies so that they can be in the community and see what we see, and also be a bridge to those communities and be a bridge to those individuals. He also said that it would also show them that God is on the scene. So I thought that was an awesome statement. And so the clergies are wearing black vests so that the deputies can, differentiate who they are and who the clergy people are. And I like that because I really think God needs to be implemented in a lot of these areas that we are having so many problems. And Faye and I was talking, and we talked about Black Lives Matter came up. So share with me your thoughts on the Black Lives Matter.
One thing I would like to say is that the pastors getting out in the streets. We had a pastor that he really educated me that this is their job to get out there. The community belongs to them.
That's right.
You have no business being out here in these streets, Miss Alexander. That should be us. And at the things that have taken over in the churches, that means they're looking for their crowds, how many members they can bring in, and they done forgot about the streets. So that's one reason I'm so happy that Sheriff Davis have implemented that.
Right. And one of the things that I just love is that's one of the things that Jesus has called us to do, or as believers, to go out in the highways and the byways.
Exactly.
And then we bring them in to, I think my pastor say, gut them like a mullet, clean them up and, make disciples and stuff like that. And that's another reason that Families of Victory are on the airways and not just bringing people into the classrooms, because we need to be out of the building and into the street and in the airways. Sylvia, let's talk about Black Lives Matter. I think you brought that one up too.
Black lives do matter, but our lives matter.
That's right.
And the thing that is tearing me down, and I would even say making me angry, do Black lives matter to us when we kill each other?
So more, not to mean to cut you off, more specifically, we're talking about black on black crime.
Exactly, exactly. You know, everybody want to get mad when the police done killed someone, and they have the right to. But what about when we kill each other?
Right.
I mean, we're doing things that are wrong too. So I want to try to get out and educate on that, and push our young black men into doing something positive.
Right. Okay. Well, tell me a little bit, Sylvia. Let's talk about your foundation and what you guys are doing at the foundation to assist, those people that are going through this.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that topic up about the needs in the community and black men and young women as well needing to be involved in some positive things. There have been, meetings with city council on violence in the community with other grassroots organizations, that I've been involved in. And I had the opportunity also, Minister Shannon and Faye, to get an understanding of adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, and trauma, and the effect that those things have on the lives of our people. And so, even when Sam was murdered, that understanding still held, because I do know that the child who took our son, when that child was 6 years old, you ask any child what they want to be. What do you want to be when you grow up? They're so full of hope and promise, but by the time they get to those ages where they can brandish a gun and they're out in the streets and doing these things, something's happened. There's been something that causes a person to have that mindset. And so what the foundation has also as part of one of our programs is a 6 to 16 initiative. And in that initiative, what we're looking to do are identify young people who need somebody to be with them, give them an opportunity to express interest in different activities. Not everybody's a football player or a basketball player. You have all of these peewee leagues and all of that, but not everybody's interested in that. And not everybody's talent is going to be in that. So we've identified young men and women who have talents in jewelry making, in crafts, in music, in videos, in writing, in art, intellectual, individuals who are willing to put time into the lives of children to help give them an outlet and something positive that they can do with the time that they have, and something that will also speak to the interest that they have. So that would be the 6 to 16 initiative that we've put in place to address some of those reasons why people do what they do, and hopefully be able to prevent those violent acts from occurring. And like you say, Ms. Faye, if you can just stop one child, one child, two children, then that's one or two more that exactly.
That's awesome. Sylvia, you also, I know Faye at one point, she had me on her calls, Healing and Afflictions, and they could call in and we would pray with them, and we had calls and calls and calls and calls. And so I believe you have something that God is giving you. I want to call it Comfort in the Cloud.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Thank you. Comfort in the Cloud. During one of my, opportunities just for some meditation and, just reflection, one of the things that I thought about that came to me, thank you, Holy Spirit, was, that we're surrounded by a presence. I felt the presence of my son who's gone on before me. I felt the presence of my mom, my dad, my grandparents who have gone on before me. I felt the presence of the heavenly host surrounding me, and certainly the presence of the triune God. And just thinking about that, I was like, wow, that verse, Hebrews chapter 12, verse 11. Now, certainly it comes behind chapter 12, verse 1. Certainly it comes behind chapter 11, the faith chapter, where it talks about all the men and women of faith and how it's been appointed to their righteousness. And then chapter 12 starts out to say, and then we also, who are surrounded by such a cloud of witnesses, that we have the opportunity to put aside every weight, every sin, and run with endurance this race that is set before us. Because I know that the healing that needs to take place in my heart, in our family's heart, in the hearts of other mothers, siblings, friends who've lost someone. That healing is going to be a race.
Right.
And it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
That's right.
That verse really spoke to me, being surrounded by such a cloud of witnesses.
That great cloud
of witnesses.
Wow.
Thank you. And so the support group, Comfort in the Cloud, was birthed out of that.
Yes.
And, it's a place we call it a haven for hope, healing, and peace, because that's what's needed. I know that's what I need. And in
Right.
speaking to and having sessions with the other people who've been in those meetings and in those calls, I think that's what we all are looking for.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say to you. All of us need that. All of us.
That's awesome. And could you share with the viewers exactly how they can log on and get on Comfort in the Clouds, or a website or something that they can reach you?
Well, absolutely. We do have a Facebook page. The website is in development, but we do currently have a Facebook page. The Samuel Harrison Stitt Foundation is the Facebook page. And there's information there that gives the time, the dates, and also the Zoom link for the meetings that we have. They're the first and third Thursdays of
Right.
each month, 7:30 to 8:30.
Okay, so that's the Zoom meeting.
That's the Zoom meeting.
That you're doing.
That's
almost
correct.
Like when you have those support groups.
Yes.
Just
Yeah, and
via
I'm
Zoom.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to join you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes. So it is via Zoom, and more than a support group, I mean, I kind of think of it as family.
Right.
The ladies, we had a session just this past Thursday.
Right.
And it was so good.
And that's the piece that I really wanted you to bring out, because it is a family. And it's a family of victory.
Yes.
A family where our motto, as you see, it talks about thanks be unto God, who gives us the victory through and by Christ Jesus. And that prior to that verse, it talks about, "O death, where is thy sting?" So even in the midst of death, you still have the victory. And I think we both, all three of us were back there talking about how God had to give his own son. How did he feel?
feel good.
And how really, if God asks anything of us, what are we willing to sacrifice? He gave his only
son.
begotten son. And Miss Faye, you had to give back all three of your children.
All three.
And so I want to ask this question to both of you. The person who committed the crime, if you saw that person today, how would you feel?
And that was a road, and that's a question. When all this first happened, and I was sharing with you ladies, I was so angry, and I was full of hate of the person that did that to my son. But a young man really talked to me and told me, Miss Play, that's not the way to go. That's not who you are. And you know what? That's not who I am. But as God dealt with me, I learned forgiveness, and I learned to deal with what I got to deal with. It even learned me how to love more. And to be a comforter to one another is a great thing. And some might need a little bit more education than others, and that's okay, because we were there once.
Right.
Don't forget where we were. We were there. But I thank God to this day that I'm where I am now.
If I were to see that person today,
Lord.
very early, over time, since this has happened, I've made several Facebook posts. And one of my constant themes was, where is JoJo? JoJo was my euphemism, my name for whoever it is that did this to my son. We all got street names.
Right.
Somebody's called. So where is JoJo? And a lot of those posts, I would sign them off as, that boy needs a whooping, and then that boy needs a hug, and then that boy needs a whooping again, because I understand that Again, his family's going to be heartbroken. I can only imagine.
And it does tear both.
You know, it tears both. You're right, Miss Faye. It tears both families apart when these things happen. But when I see him, I don't know. I was just reminded that one of the ladies we were speaking with on Thursday, was talking about, and many others, have court dates coming up where they'll be able to see these people face to face. And that really did rise up something in me to think, what is that day going to be like?
We set our hearts to forgive. And that's the one thing I really did want the viewers to hear, that your hearts are in the right place, even pertaining to somebody that could take your child away. That still you press towards the mark of the higher calling, even if you have to some days in tears, rolling on the floor, calling that lifeline, having a bad day, and then God will, even, I think, Ms. Faye, you said in 13 years, you really haven't felt that way. And then to have old friends call you, and God will have he'll step up.
And Shannon, that's to be expected. And I truly believe that we're going to have some good days.
That's right.
And we're going to have some bad days.
Right.
But just to have that friend and your family there to support you through that's the most important thing.
Right.
Because that was even though I was feeling like I was feeling, I still had family calling, checking on me.
Right.
I had friends calling, checking on me, and that meant a lot. It meant a lot.
Acknowledging that. And, that's one of the things in our sessions that we really harp on is that, yes, we are believers. Yes, we are spiritual people. But deal with the grief before the grief deal with you. And be real about it. Let's talk about it. Let's take the mask off. Let's be true to our feelings. And, we often so many times go to church and then end up not really being true to ourselves, So, ladies, our time is up. Unfortunately, we truly thank God for you and you coming to join us and giving us your testimony and your time. Families of Victory broadcast, thank you so much for tuning in. To reach us, you can go to www.shannonstafford.org. Click on Families of Victory and read all about us and contact us, and we'll be able to get you in contact with one of these beautiful ladies. Thank you so much, and remember that God has given you the victory no matter where you find yourself. Don't cave in. Don't quit. It is not in the plan of God. We're here for you, so contact us and we'll put you on the right track. Have a wonderful day. Until we meet again, see you next time.